Great, I'm going to be on YouTube again.
We're like nobody's in yet. It takes a little while to crank up. We'll hit about probably 25. I think we had 31 Monday at the.
That about typical?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I've done more, but it's kind of settled out at something under 50.
So, Lou, that tank I can see behind you over your right, I think it's your right-hand shoulder, at least it looks like your right-hand shoulder from me. Is that the only tank you've got now?
No. No, I have, I've got a video. I've got my cam on there.
Yep. I love the jury-rigged laptop. That's great.
This is my 20-year-old 35. And
oh, is that one that you'd never done you never did a water change or anything to for like 20 years? Is that one?
I've got 4
nice
29s back here.
That feeling when every tank Father Fish has is like 3 times bigger than every tank I've got, except for one.
Yeah.
I don't have much in the way of fish yet. I just talked to one of my suppliers and asked him to send me a shipment. So I'll get rice fish and lures and shrimp. And EJ is sending some baby scarlet batis and baby ellisoma that she's.
Oh, I love those.
The endlers will keep your tank populated.
Do you still keep many U.S. natives?
That's all I've got, really.
Okay.
I only have a few, but it's Formosa. That's a golden top minnow.
Urania formosa, yeah.
About a half a dozen. I do have some babies. Bluefin killie. And then in this bottom tank here, I have some shiners that I got down in Virginia about a month ago. And that's about it. So I'm looking to get some fish. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do, and I really haven't figured it out. I think if I can get some licorice gouramis or chocolate gouramis, I'll probably do that because my tap water is 6.0.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a little less.
Yeah, you could do a lot of cool fish.
So
you could breed rare epistogramma.
Yeah, exactly. I can handle some more difficult stuff. We got 10 people in. BJ Zoo and Wildlife, who I don't know now. I need to get over on YouTube so
I should probably be on the stream on the mod over there.
Pardon?
I said I should probably jump on the live stream. I'm a mod, so I should probably be doing my job.
Everybody's a mod.
Oh, well, in that case, I won't bother.
It doesn't matter. No, stay where you are. Unless you want to do 2 screens. I've got 3 screens. I actually was using them the other night, but it got to be too confusing. Let's see now. Discord forum. That's where we are.
An 80-year-old.
I should probably head out so I'm not late to class.
20-year-olds.
All
right.
Yeah. Glad you stopped in.
I'm glad I could talk with you guys. Yeah.
No worries.
Bye.
Good to finally put a face to the name.
Discord forum.
Yes, it was nice to talk to you again.
See you later, mate.
Bye.
Bye for now. Let's see.
An
I
80-year-old.
should probably head out so I'm not late to.
Wonder if we can get RJ on.
If he's up and about,
He's shown as being asleep on Discord, but I'll just pop him a message. Sometimes it wakes him up. Just depends on how he's feeling.
yeah,
I know he's got some health problems at the moment, so we'll see.
you know, that'd be fun to have him. I've had him on once or twice at the beginning, and everybody thoroughly enjoyed. This is Dallas coming on. Hey, Dallas.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear
We can
you.
hear you. I
You
can't
looking at
see
the
you.
camera?
I'm not sure if we're meant to be able to see you.
I'm trying to get the camera going here.
Great. Nice to see you. Let's see. Silver Creek is here. Fanaticals. Sketty No Nut. BJ Zoo and Wildlife in Australia. Happy to have you, BJ.
Hey, another Australian. That's good to know.
You blue, right? Silver
Idaho.
Silver Creek.
Hey, Dallas. How you doing?
My 120-gallon
Pretty good.
tank should be back in rotation by Saturday.
I just noticed
Yeah,
something.
Silver Creek has got a couple of tanks on the 24 stream. Yeah, that's what I never got around to doing. Closing
I'm
the
sure the world doesn't want to see my bathroom.
Mermaid's Corner.
I just got off of work and I got your message. I've never been here before.
Good to have you. We do this twice a week. Generally
Well,
Monday and
He does this twice a week. I jump in when I can.
right.
Yeah,
I'm doing 5 live streams a week now. 2 on
Wow,
Discord.
that's a lot.
What we do is we do this on Discord and broadcast it on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, and Facebook, and on 3 channels on YouTube. We're trying to find ways to spread out and reach more people, but it comes from Discord. It's a Discord stream. You have to be on
nice.
Discord in order to participate. I do follow the chat on YouTube. So anybody who's on YouTube who's commenting, we draw that in as well.
Which YouTube channel do you follow? Are you following the Natural Aquariums or Father Fish?
Both. Father Fish,
Okay,
Natural.
I've just jumped on the Natural Aquariums, so I can keep an eye on the chat there as well.
EJ, and we will have Mary Page whenever she gets around to coming up. And we're trying to open the 24/7 to more other YouTubers. So far, we're not having a lot of success with that.
I'm trying to enable my video. It comes on, then shuts off.
Oh, okay, well, it's not critical. George RB3. Hello, George. Make you a moderator.
Okay, I was looking at the wrong stream. That's why I wasn't getting anything.
The function of the Discord channel is to promote the Natural Aquarium. It's always interesting when we get new people who come in who want to teach us all about the chemicals they're using and all about the technology that they're applying and the amount of money they've spent on fancy systems.
Yeah.
And we have to kind of slow them down and pat them on the head. Bring
Yeah,
them down to earth.
See,
I'm
I was
trying-
a little bit more intelligent than that. I was asking a lot of questions and then got a delayed response because I was, how do you say, a little too overzealous with my questions until someone basically said, "Look, just do it, will you?"
Really. Silver Creek, hey, how are you? Good to see you. I love what you're doing on the live stream. That's great fun. Do not have your voice. Can you guys hear him?
Can you hear me all right now?
I think
No.
he's on some sort of mute.
You need to change your microphone, I guess. And you may need to, hopefully you know more about that than I do. You may need to go into the gear on Discord. Look at that.
Oh, I can hear something now. I think.
Okay, is this working now? Can y'all hear me?
That's
We
working.
got you.
That's good.
Perfect. Nice.
Great, and thank you. And this is the 120 behind me I was talking about. Had that heater failure on it, and a couple of the mollies had some of the little white spots on their fins. Well, more than a couple, but now luckily it's only a couple. So they're doing a lot better. And I've got a new heater coming in the mail tomorrow. So
Okay.
that's going to be great.
Yeah, that'll be the solution. You get it up to 86, leave it there for 3 days, and you're good to go. The reason people
Yeah,
lose
perfect.
fish to ick is they don't catch it in time. If you catch it in time, kick the temperature up to 86, it'll wipe it out. If it goes for a week, you're done. There's nothing you can do because the parasites multiply by a factor of 240 every 3 days. So by the 7th day, the numbers are astronomical. And there's so many
Dang.
parasites attached to each individual fish at that point that they suck them dry.
Yeah, about the only way to save them, and you got to be a bit lucky at that point, is to basically do a massive salt infusion into the tank. I had that problem when with my clown loaches. I didn't pick it up until week 3, so they were basically all dotted, riddled with it. I lost 2 of them, saved 3. So I was lucky that I lost all my plants because of the salt in the tank. But I basically bathed them for a month. Like that. Saved the fish, lost the plants. But
The
it's not a price to pay.
farmers use salt because they can't heat their 10,000 and 25,000 gallon ponds. So they use a salt treatment. For aquariums, if we can get heat to them, we can control it pretty effectively.
Yeah, in my case, it was my big tank, which is what is that in terms of gallons? I think 70-gallon tank. I had my heaters were just incapable of heating the water hot enough. So yeah, I same reasoning ultimately.
Yeah, that's exactly what my worry with this was. I was thinking even the heater that was in it originally, because I got this tank off of a Facebook Marketplace and it came with a heater. So there was no telling how long it was running before that, but I was like, maybe it just isn't enough altogether. So I ended up ordering a bigger tank and got a heater controller for it just to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with me. I think one of my heaters actually ended up dying, so I think it's running off one heater right now, but who knows?
Well, that's the other problem, of course, is particularly in a big tank. I usually have more than one. If I have to have a heater in a tank, a big tank, I'll have more than one. I'll do at least 2 heaters.
But the key there, if you're going to do that, and there's nothing wrong with it, I actually endorse it, it's redundancy. but you want to make sure you've got them out of 2 different manufacture dates and 2 different manufacture batches, ideally from 2 different manufacturers entirely. And the reason for that is because each heater has a lifespan of around about 12 to 18 months of constant use.
Exactly.
And you want to make sure that one of them is working so that your fish don't develop ick just from both of them dying at once.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, and I do that. I thought it's strange you mentioned it because I hadn't really thought of it, but I just kind of do that naturally. You know, I don't trust. If I get 2 brand new heaters, I won't put them both in the same tank. I'll put an old one in with a new one, and split up the 2 new ones. It's interesting. Yeah, and you're right. Heaters do not hold up if you shut them down off season, which I tended to do. Just not use them in the summer, because in Florida you don't need them. You can maybe get 2 seasons out of them that way. But just,
Well, I've been really lucky. I've had one heater which I've had now for 2 years. It's the only heater in that tank. It hasn't died yet, and I've had it constantly going through summer and winter, because in summer it just simply doesn't turn on because the water temperature is just too hot naturally. Because Australia, where we are, gets quite hot. Doesn't get as hot as other places, but similar to Florida in most respects. But in winter we do need it, even though we don't get snow. The air temperature does drop enough that a heater is needed.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty much the same story here as well. I'm in Texas and we get crazy heat spells, and then the weather just fluctuates crazy back and forth, and we've been getting some crazy winters lately. So I'm like really trying to like stay prepared and act as if, each winter is going to be worse than the last nowadays.
let's see. First Class Fish was saying to add a heater controller. I've got a story about that. I had a 200 gallon tank with a colony of Frontosa, big ones, about 10 of them. And I had them on a heater in the winter. I had the tank on a carport, so it got cold through the winter. So I had these 2 metal heaters in there with a controller that had a probe in it. And the probe was, of course, on a wire coming off the controller that went into the tank. Well,
Are you talking about like the old school heaters that were like the coil probes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but the probe was on a wire, like a cable that hung in the tank. So I came in the fish room one day, and the fish were like frozen, which was odd behavior. Normally they're moving around, pretty active. They weren't moving at all. I went over and touched the tank, and it was hot. I looked, and the probe had fallen out. So the controller was telling the heaters to stay on because the temperature in the air never got above about 75 degrees. So I cooked them.
That'll do it.
I could have saved them. I messed up saving them. If I had simply turned the heaters off and let the temperature drop down normally, there's a good chance they would have survived. I didn't do that. I started throwing them into other tanks, putting ice cubes. I panicked, putting ice in the tank, trying to force the temperature down. Killed every one of them.
You could probably have gotten away with a couple of ice cubes in the tank because all that does is assist in the thermo reduction. But you don't want to be throwing, bags of ice into it or anything like that. That would just drop it too quick.
Yeah, I was dropping it
Yeah.
quickly. Exactly.
I recently had an issue as of last week, beginning of the week. I was really busy with work, and I wanted to put a branch in my tank to try to lower the pH level with the acid, leaking out of the branch.
Right.
Well, it came with some stuff. Some white moss started growing off of it, and the next day it was on everything, including the fish. So I started knocking it off. I tried to not touch the water too much, and then maybe I should have. But I think it was like 3 or 4 days later, I decided, I needed to do something because it was starting to affect the fish. They weren't acting normal no more because I have German blue rams. And so then I did a 50% water change, and the water started getting clear. But it was like this 1-inch clear fog that was kind of growing all over the branch and going on the bottom, on the sides, and it bloomed within 1 day. So I must have got the conditions in the tank like perfect for it to bloom, and it went crazy. I was not successful. I saved 1 fish. It was bad. Not too happy about that one, but
Now, normally, I remember when that happened because we were dealing with it on Discord. Normally, when that happens, it's fungus. And fungus is never a problem because fungus won't attack the fish.
I sent some pictures online, and everyone says, "Oh, that's just this." I can't remember what they said. "Oh, just leave it; it'll be fine." The fish will either eat it or it'll go away on its own.
That's right. The expectation was that it was fungus, but it wasn't. It was bacteria.
Yeah. It was definitely something I didn't want. I just trusted someone. I posted pictures and whatnot. But that was the only thing that changed in my tanks. But I got a good-looking German blue ram left, so maybe I can breed it and get it going again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I started watching your channel, and I like the idea of doing everything all naturally. However, I do watch. I graph the TDS and pH and temperature. On my computer, it kind of notifies me while I'm at work, those parameters, so I can pay attention because I'm a busy person. But I try to do everything naturally, but I try to pay attention. I did pay attention and still failed.
Congratulations, you're much more diligent than I am. I have not done a test on any of my water for anything, and I'm including pH, nitrates, anything. Probably in about 8 months now was the last time I did a test, and that was because of a problem.
You probably don't really need to do it. It's just I'm using it as a learning tool to prevent issues, and I'm developing it to prevent problems so I can notice them faster. But doing it naturally, everything trying to lower the pH or the hardness of the water.
Silver Creek, I think we've lost your audio again.
No, sorry, I was talking to my daughter. She had walked in, was asking me a question.
Okay. I saw your lips moving. Hi there. How are you?
Ready?
Hi.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. What's
Oh wow, that's a southern accent.
Oh, daggum boy, you know it.
now? Let's see. I'm looking at the comments here on YouTube.
I'd make fun of it, but then I'd be opening up you guys to make fun of my accent because I'm from another country, which is clearly English speaking. But
Down there.
g'day, boys.
I like to think I can hide mine pretty well, but it really comes out, especially on words like thank. Is it think or thank?
Thank her.
I say thank for both.
Thanks, though. Hey, Marco Illich. Hello, Marco.
I've heard far worse. I'll put it that way.
Right. Give Marco a red chair. So, for those of you who are just coming in, catching us, this is a live stream from our Discord channel. If somebody wouldn't mind posting the Discord link, we have a Discord server called Father Fish, which is all about. Oh my God, he's got a chicken. Which is all
It's a quail.
a quail.
Yeah.
A yellow quail. That's pretty cool. Anyway, it's a server, Discord server called Father Fish, that is all about natural aquariums. So it gives people an opportunity to bring their issue to the people on the server. We get to look at pictures, videos, chat with each other, and try to get to the heart of whatever the issue is. There's also a lot of general conversation, a lot of sharing, as you would expect, of the same sort that goes on the chat format. Except, of course, it's 24/7. So we're doing these live streams. Each of the people who you can see on the monitor are broadcasting from Discord. So it's a Discord stream that is then sent with StreamYard to a number of other platforms. YouTube, 3 or 4 YouTube platforms, Twitch, Rumble, Facebook, and then some other YouTubers who are linked in with us. So that's what you're watching. We do this 2 nights a week, Monday and Thursday at 7 o'clock. You can join us live by coming into Discord and what are you doing? Oh, your daughter's listening. Is that what's? Oh, cool. By coming into Discord and getting up on the live stream with us. What's your daughter's name?
Her name's Elena.
Elena. Well, you need to. I guess you're doing it, actually. Elena, how old are you?
Go ahead.
Hi.
He asked how old you are.
Oh, 11.
11.
Days.
Nice. I have a granddaughter who's the same age, 11. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, can't remember, EJ has 2 children, and I think her boy is 11 or 12. Daughter's 13. You have 3? Nice. How old are the other 2?
Yeah, I've got 2 girls and 1 boy. Elena's my middle. She's 11. My oldest is 12, my oldest daughter, and my boy's my youngest. He's 8. And they're a delight. And I'm a homeschool dad, so I get to spend all the time in the world with them, and it's great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's great. Skinny Nona says your daughter has a beautiful name. And First Class Fish wants to know if she's into fish.
Are you into fish?
Kinda, yeah.
Tell them what you're wanting.
A Noel and a corgi.
Is that a
She's
corgi
want
or a Cory?
a corgi and a knoll. She's more into reptiles.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, I have a friend who has a corgi. They're sweet dogs. You're talking about the dog, right?
Yeah, corgi's the dog. She obsesses. In fact, if she comes over, you can see she's wearing a corgi shirt at the moment too.
Putting the pressure on you.
Come on, man. That's just kids. They love to push the boundaries.
Right.
You know, my daughter's into mermaids. My son's into dinosaurs, and they just want everything related to whatever they're currently interested in. It's normal.
Yes, all of the things.
Right. Nice. Well, yeah, Chris Strapper saying homeschool is the way to do it nowadays. No lie. So why are you homeschooling?
It just seemed like the best option for us. We only wanted one person to work and wanted one of the parents to stay home. I had worked in car sales for like 7 years and made my way up to management in car sales and even into the internet over several different dealerships. And after I stopped that, my wife just looked at me and said, "Well, I'm tired of sitting at home. Can I try to work now?" So I was like, "Sure, house is paid off. I built it myself. We've got pretty much everything paid off. Go for it."
Wow. Good for you.
That would be awesome
You do
to
realize
flip.
that you just destroyed every bit of trust that everyone ever had in you now. Admitting to be a car salesman, of all things.
Indeed.
Yeah, I admit my faults, though. I admit my faults.
It'd be awesome if my wife worked. Kind of flip it. That'd be neat. What do you guys use for substrate? Just
I'm
dirt
using
from
dirt and
outside?
sand. So I got potting mix, which was an Australian bag, comes in a bag. My wife gets it for her plants, so I just grabbed a bag or three, threw it into the bottom, and then threw some Sydney River sand over the top. Now that was a mistake. The Sydney River sand actually increased my pH, so my water out of the tap comes out at pH 7. Theoretically, I should be able to keep anything.
You had carbon. That's weird.
Yeah.
The sand has coral or crushed coral essentially running through it. So
Right.
basically, it jumped the pH up to 8.3, which would be perfect if I was running a marine tank. I'm not. I didn't know that was a problem until I had fish starting to die, but we got it straightened out. It's still got that substrate in it though.
Yeah. I did try. Go ahead.
First Class Fish has made the comment, thought maybe Discord had a place to watch. It does not. You have to be on stream in order to see it. That's a shortcoming. So those who are on Discord who don't want to be live have got to go over to YouTube, to like the Father Fit channel or the Natural Aquarium channel, to be able some other platform.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna refresh my browser, see if the camera takes off.
Sometimes it does. Isn't that time?
No, the camera's selected too. Let me see if I have the app.
While you're doing that, to answer the question on the substrate on mine, I do a lot of organic gardening and even was trying to run a market farm for like my first 2 years that we lived out on this property.
Yeah.
So I've developed my own organic compost and mix, and ended up learning the hard way that I need to sift all of the heavier mulch, the wood mulch,
Yeah.
But yeah, I use it and then sand cap it. Sometimes I put crushed coral in. It depends on what tank I'm putting it in, but usually most of it I make myself, and then I just use full filter sand.
Nice. Pull
Yeah,
Oh,
if I had
the-
the time over, I'd go pull filter sand.
yeah,
The
that's
crushed coral. Go ahead.
it's a
I was
most.
gonna say that.
Did you hear back from RJ?
No, I didn't. I think he must be asleep or unable, or for whatever reason, to come up.
Somebody was just here and dropped off. I don't know who.
It was Dallas. I don't know how he got two streams going. I think what you need to do is to
The com-
close Discord and then reopen Dallas. I'm not sure.
He's trying to get
Uh,
the camera working.
yeah. I selected the camera. I'm in the software now instead of the web browser, and I selected my camera in there, and I'm still having the same issue.
Uh,
Of course, this never happens to me.
right,
If I click test video, I can see it just fine.
really.
I can see myself.
Is it? Are you in Windows?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, and
I'm gonna-
Logitech?
Yeah, everything's just loading on my end too. I mean, as much as I think my own face is beautiful, I'd love to see y'all's too.
It says
Well, I don't wanna be
HD
the
web
ugliest
camera.
one here all the time. Okay, so it's a generic brand. Try going into Device Manager and just make sure those drivers are up to date. I have had an issue with Discord and Windows where the drivers were not up to date, and I had a very similar problem to what you're experiencing.
Well, I use it for work all the time. So yeah, it
That's
could
through
be.
Microsoft Teams, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, Microsoft Teams works differently. That they utilize a driver differently somehow. I'm not sure exactly how. I haven't looked at the guy. But
Yeah.
the Discord software does access it differently, and for that reason, sometimes the drivers can muck you up.
Yeah, I'll probably check that out.
Chris Trapp just raised an issue that came up earlier today on another format. I think it came up in Discord. He said, I just found out my family uses a water softener at their house. I assume softened water will kill fish. Should I bring water from my old house or just use the outside hose water? It's not so much that it kills fish as it is that it has a salt residue that stays in the water and it removes minerals and other general hardness as well as calcium hardness kind of indiscriminately. So you wind up not knowing what you have. It rarely kills fish. It just creates confusion for the plants and the substrate, I think, even more than the fish. Yeah,
You don't want the yellow water. It kind of yellows the water if your house has too much of it.
it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
better off using. You should have a tap in your water supply on the other side of the softener, an outdoor tap or some such thing where you can get straight well water or wherever it's coming from. If you find that it is too hard, which I don't believe is possible, but others do, you can dilute it with rainwater or you can buy reverse osmosis water pretty cheaply.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm having to do. Our water is ridiculously hard.
There we go. I'm no longer the ugliest one here. Hooray!
Good job. Good job. So
All I did is right click and change video background and it kicked in. work. So
Nice. So you can certainly use it. It's not preferable. Your regular tap water is probably going to be preferable. And if for some reason it's not, I still would not go with the softened water. You just don't know what's going on with it. And it's going to change every time that goes through a wash. It's going to change the water chemistry. I think
go ahead.
I think it's a solution looking for a problem.
Yeah, I'm really glad you hit on that because that's something that I've been having to deal with and been struggling with on the hard water and bringing that down. And I did like what you were saying and diluted it with all of the tanks in the shed with RO and rainwater. So that was a fun process.
Yeah, if you can collect rainwater and then draw down from the middle of the container. If you have rainwater, you never want to draw down from the bottom because it'll contain sediment. If that water is coming off your roof, it could contain sediment from the roof materials that are baked dry before it rains. So, but they do settle. So if you just draw down from the middle to the upper portions of the water column, you'll be safe. And
So
go ahead.
I think I was going to mention the pH in my house is around 440. And when I put it in my tank and I'm growing plants, for some reason, the pH went down to 128. And I don't know necessarily what caused it, but my plants, you can see I have a few plants in there. The whole bottom is covered with this baby tears. I'm not having as big as success as I had 3 years ago. I had my plants, these baby tears are only supposed to get an inch tall, like it is right now. And they bloomed 4 feet tall right out of the tank. And I had that tank set up for a real long time. It was one of my most successful tanks. I never had to do any water changes 8 months at a time. I really didn't do anything to the tank unless I wanted to. I chose to do it. No maintenance. It's pretty successful. But do you guys know why I put in tap water? Did I say pH? I meant TDS. It was around 400 and something.
Yeah, we figured that out.
Yeah, sorry. I'm tired. I had a long day at work.
Technically,
But-
I'm working,
Yes,
so
drop precipitously.
Yeah, my pH is around 7.6 right now. I'm trying to.
Yes, your TDS dropped from 400 to 150 or so.
Yeah, I recently. So because I had that problem last week, and then I recently did a 50% water change a few days ago. But I'm wondering how the TDS is going down. Usually it will go up, when the tap water in the house is around 400 and something.
it depends on what the tap water is at the time that you get the water out, though. So
Yeah,
you
so is
might
the
be
plant
testing
statement.
at a time where it's high, whereas the TDS you're actually putting in the tank could be much, much lower, just due to the time you're at and whatnot, where the council's getting its water, who else is on, who else is using it. There's factors. Did you run a test at the time that you put the put the water into the tank?
I think I have a date. It was the 19th, so yesterday. I tested the water, and then I put the probe in the other tank, and it went it just went straight down. And I recently did that water change, like Sunday or something.
You've checked it coming out of the tap.
Yeah, not at the same time, but I was just like stunned when I saw it. I'm just like, I kind of want that value anyways. But, I'm like figuring why, if I guess I should check my tap more often to find out if it is fluctuating, like you're saying.
I think the way to do it is the next time you plan a water change, or just before you do the water change, run the test on the water coming out of the tap. And that'll tell you what you're putting into the tank in terms of TDS. It obviously won't be an exact value, because obviously it'll fluctuate as people turn water on and whatnot, but it'll at least give you an idea as to what's going in versus putting it in and then a day or 2 or 3 or a week later running the test on the tap water, because you're just not doing it at the same time. So it's not really a meaningful test, unfortunately.
Yeah, well water or municipal water?
It's city water. So
yeah. I was about to add to that. If you have well water, you're definitely going to be wanting to change it, because so much stuff can be stirred up down in the sediment of the well itself that it can change the water parameters like crazy.
And with city water, you never really know where they're getting the water. They could be getting it from different sources. When I was in Sarasota, the water typically had a pH of 8.0. And it was fine. Never had a problem. Then all of a sudden, all of my fish started getting sick. And it kind of made me crazy. I tried all sorts of things. Nothing did any good. Finally got around to checking the water parameters and calling up the water company. And they said, oh yeah, in the summer, we buy our water from Bradenton. Well, Bradenton is lake water. Sarasota typically is deep well water. They're 100% opposite each other. The deep well water is hard and alkaline. The lake water was salt and acid. And they weren't paying attention to that issue.
Well, RJ's got another story relating to the same topic, and he, at the time, was running a lot of tanks. I don't know exactly how many, but it was a lot. And he decided he was going to do a water change on all his tanks. So he started doing the water change. Got about 7 or 8 tanks deep into the water change, and as he turned around, he just noticed all his fish floating at the top of the tanks. Turns out that his council had actually switched the water source from a pH, what was it he told me, 7.3 or 7.4 to a pH of 8.7. So all of a sudden he's dumping this massively high pH water into his tanks. Of course the fish aren't going to like it. It was just too much of a change, and he lost tanks, multiple tanks worth of fish just because of that.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how many tanks he was running, but I believe it was sort of in the order of 20 or 30 at the time. But it's his story, so I'm kind of hijacking it a little bit there.
Do you guys have any black comics? I've had them since I was a little kid. I stopped, and I wanted to switch to the German blues. So I started getting them after watching this channel. I thought his were pretty cool.
Yeah, I keep. I've got a couple of German blues, gold balloon belly, even though those are frowned upon, but I don't care. I had it, so I deal with it. And then an electric blue ram. I'm a huge fan. If it's a small fish, I love it.
When you have black convicts, it's hard to put other fish with them because they always want to breed. And when they, if you get 2 pairs over here, they basically kill everything around it. Or
I thought
at
you
least
meant Black Knight rams. My bad.
Oh, well, that would be cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
those Black Knights are pretty. Wow. if I could find someone that would get those Black Knights. But I got to restock, like I had that incident last week. You guys probably don't do this, but I found out an effective way moving CO2 into the tank without wasting it. I don't know. Do you guys do that? You probably don't, since it's not natural, right?
Right, we're doing deep substrate, which
Yeah,
enormous amounts of CO2.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
teach me about that?
It
I didn't
takes
know that.
about 12 months to mature.
Yeah.
So how does it do that?
Well,
Do you know?
that's the natural process of putrefaction creates CO2. Whenever anything breaks down, it creates CO2. Except we're doing it down under the sand in the substrate, so it stays there, and the plant roots are able to take it up.
So right now, I'm not using any soil. Right now, I'm using rocks that I had cleaned, and so I'm growing the plants with lights and CO2, and they're gonna build their own substrate, as they decompose. Is what I'm thinking. Do you think I should do anything else, or you think I should just leave it
Well, you could add sand
until?
to it. You want,
I
you
knew
want
that was coming.
3 inches of sand in order to be able to house that humic material that's going to build up.
No, the sand. I'll have to sprinkle it on gradually, probably, because I have a lot of that baby tears. I don't want to disrupt their growing. So
If
should
you
I
use
just?
a bottle, like a 20-ounce bottle or a 1-liter bottle or something like that, put your sand in the bottle, let it fill up with water, and then slowly just pour out the sand. It'll really keep your dust down, and it'll help you like really pinpoint exactly where you're wanting to put it.
You're going
But
to want
just-
to do that anyway, because otherwise you'll clog up your filter with sand, which is never a great thing.
Yeah. My most successful tank where I had those plants grow 4 feet tall, no exaggeration. I got some pictures of it. The baby tier is only supposed to get an inch. They're coming out of the tank. It was awesome. But I had to move, and so I donated all of it away. I'd like to do that again, but that was a sand tank, just pure sand. I just accidentally created a really good environment.
How long
And I
did you
tried
set up?
4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I lived in Emmett, Idaho, and
yeah.
and
So you,
and it
you built a dirt layer in there. It takes about a year to get that started.
yeah. I'll do that next. I'll go get some sand. Do you think just going at Lowe's is adequate? It's just going to build its own natural process, right?
It's going to take a long time, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lowe's has if you're asking about Lowe's, they have a Quikrete pool filter sand. If you use it instead of getting pool filter sand from an actual like pool place that does pools, I would recommend rinsing that one. The Quikrete seems to be a little bit dirtier than your regular pool filter sand. So if you just give it like 1 or 2 quick rinses, it's good to go. It's a good one to use. I use it.
Yeah, if you're going to pour it
Nice.
through the water, then you need to rinse it first. Otherwise, you'll never get it clear.
Yeah, I did a really good job on this to make it so my pH wouldn't rise because of certain things. There's no coral in this. It's kind of like rocks, all just bunch of rocks. So when I poured it in, it never really made any cloudiness because I did it twice, cleaned them twice. Took like 2 hours.
Well, next time you set up a tank, put an inch of dirt in the bottom soil and then 2 inches of sand on top of that, and you'll be a year ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Or more.
After watching your channel, I went and bought some of that soil, but it was like manure because that's what I found. And I didn't know. I mean,
It's a little dense is the only issue. If you can cut it with sphagnum or peat moss or
I later learned that, you know, I should have covered it with sand to try to keep down the dust, but it took too long to clear up, and so after 3 water changes, I'm like, I'm done with that. But I might try that again in the future.
Well, that was the problem with the Wallstead system. She's using gravel, and it does not keep the dirt out of the water column. Sand does.
Just be mindful when you're creating your dirt layer to consider what your water is in terms of pH, especially. Because when you're doing that, I discovered it. I've already given my example where my sand was bumping my 7 water up to 8.3, 8.4 borderline marine territory. You may not want to put peat moss. Peat moss in my tank would be absolutely fantastic because the peat moss would be competing with my sand layer and sort of neutralizing over time the pH, but one of them will win, and eventually the pH will go up or down depending on that. So you just want to be a little bit mindful of what your water pH is before you begin. That way you can determine what you actually need to add to your substrate to make it viable for you and keep the water nice.
I've been wondering about that too, especially with the peat moss, because I use sphagnum peat moss in everything, and I've like made it a point to use less of it in the tanks. But if on some of the tanks, if there's a reason to use more of it, is what is it, like a buffer for the pH or what?
Peat moss is organic, so by default, as it decays, it will bring the water acidity up, so it actually brings the pH down. So what will ultimately happen if you put pH 6 water, say, into the tank, and you put peat moss in it, you are ultimately, if you don't have anything to buffer that back up, eventually your tank is going to turn to pH 4, 3. It's basically battery acid at that point. And your fish will generally die. There might be a couple of outlying fish that can live in it that'll be fine, but it won't be good for 95% of the fish that are out there.
You can You can always counter it with sodium bisulfate, with baking soda, which is carbonate.
Yeah, buffering it.
The holding pH stable. So you can have very soft water that has a pH of 7.0 with by using bicarbonate of soda.
But again, you've got to remember, anything that you're adding to the tank to increase the pH, to buffer it, is going to continue to compete with the peat moss that is in your tank. So it'll never actually balance until one of the two, whether it be the buffer or the peat moss, actually wins and it balances out. And that takes time, and you can actually cause a crash in either direction. You're getting into water chemistry. I don't like to play with water chemistry. Yes, we can hear you. Because it's an area where there is very little room for error and very easy to make a lot of mistakes and cause big problems. So I tend to prefer to take into account what the water is to begin with and then make the substrate match it, or as I do, I just pulled out some potting mix that's unfertilized and used that as a starting base.
Well, Fish Face finally figured it out. Bro,
Yes,
nice to have you.
Welcome to the stream.
yeah, it took me a while.
He's been trying to get on for days. Good job.
Hey, I did too. Don't feel bad. It took me 2 weeks to figure this thing out. I was so used to going live on YouTube. When I finally did it on Discord, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I've never done anything like this, so I'm not.
I still just love the fact an 80-year-old is schooling, 20 and 30-year-olds how to use tech.
Yeah, thank you, Father Fish.
You bet.
So if you put baking soda in your tank, it should try to raise the pH to 8 to 9. Is that correct? Because that is the value of.
It depends on how much you put in.
Yeah. If just a way to raise it, to counter it.
Right. You want to be very gingerly about how much you use. If you've got 6.0 and you want to get it up to like 6.5 in a 20-gallon tank, you do a pinch, just the tiniest amount.
I heard that if you want to buffer it, buffering it is where you're trying to stabilize it. You're not trying to change the pH, you're trying to buffer it to keep it there. Is that right?
No, buffering is where you're adding alkalinity to the water or adding carbonates to the water. It's the same thing. It basically, when you're buffering the water, you're increasing the pH. When you're
Okay.
adding acid to the water, you're lowering the pH. So if you're doing water chemistry, what you're really doing is trying to find the optimum pH that you've got in the water for your fish. So if you've got fish that, like, let's say 7.0 water, the water out of your tap is 6, you want to buffer that up so that it's 7, because that's just what you're trying to do. The easier way would be to get the fish acclimated to sort of 6, 6.2, 6.4 by just adding a tiny, tiny amount of buffer. But again, when you're talking about water chemistry, you're talking about a fight between organics, which are acid, and your bases, which, bicarbonate soda, it's a base, it's buffering. So you're going to end up in this tug of war between the two extremes. One of them ultimately will win, and at that point, you then have to step in again and rebalance it. So to me, if you're going to go down the water chemistry route, as I've already said, I don't like doing it. If you are going to do it, you create a tub, a barrel specifically for it. You add your acid, you add your carbonate until you get the pH that you want after the fight is done. Then you use that water for your tank. But again, the acid you're using, you'd be using something like muriatic acid, which is one of the strongest acids out there. You'd be using a drop at a time, and it takes a while for you to actually get that. I don't like it. I think it's sort of wizardry, and I think that for the 95% of the people out there, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it because it'll always change. The natural way of doing it is you need a piece of driftwood. And that's how I've always, as the driftwood is rotting, it continuously releases the acid nonstop, and it stabilizes the tank. And I never really have the pH change on me. It's pretty stable as long as I have lots of plants.
It's the same thing with peat moss. They're all pulling that pH down.
Yep.
So realistically, buffer becomes required in certain tanks. Let's say that I had inert sand where I didn't have it pumping my pH up. Over time, yes, I would need to buffer it. I would need to add something like crushed corals to increase those carbonates and actually get the pH back up.
See, that's interesting. I'd always thought of like a buffer being something to keep the pH from having those crazy spikes, like when there's sunlight on a tank or when there's not sunlight on a tank. It just helps to keep those spikes from happening. So that's a different aspect and a different view of buffer that I hadn't heard before. That's pretty cool. Thanks.
Does pH have to do with parts per million?
No,
it has to do with acidity and alkalinity
It has
of
to do
the
with
so
it has to do with KH, not GH.
What you're talking about is TDS, parts per million.
Parts per
It's
million.
like it's the amount of solids that are in the tank, like minerals and bacterias, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yep. So it should be able to change depending what's there in that 1,000 parts or whatever parts you have. Could be something that changes the pH.
Yeah.
Generally,
it can, but pH is more accurate than a TDS for gauging the acidity or alkalinity of any given body of water.
Yeah,
That's
TDS, there's a lot of things within that. But if it changes, something's happening. It's like something that catches all. That's why that's why I watch it. But I recently just got the TDS thing, so I don't have too much data to go off of right now. I'm just trying to learn from it. I'm trying to perfect the natural thing that I did a few years ago. That was absolutely incredible. But I'm going to use your advice on adding sand to my situation so I could get the cycle going better.
I really failed with gravel. It just didn't work for me, but I wasn't there for long, so just new to everything. But yeah, the gravel tank was a problem. But I got sand
What
on it
happened?
now. It seems to be helping. Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, mine's like
Yeah.
gravel pebbles. It's doing pretty good. It's not my greens they're growing, but it's not blowing up like it did 3 years ago when I had sand. That was incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. My oldest tank that I have right now, which is only about 10, 11 months old, believe it or not. I'm still new to this. But I started with gravel as well, and I ended up just throwing a sand cap on top of the gravel that was already there because I was like, okay, so if I've learned anything at this point, it's that I've already got that gravel has already got bacteria built up in it somehow, some way. So if I sand cap this, it's just going to allow the dirt to filter down a little bit better. So I just threw the sand cap on top of the gravel that I had. Now, granted, I did put a little bit of crushed coral on that one. It's one of the tanks that I have inside, not out here. But yeah, dude, if you're worried about the gravel, just throw some sand on it. Be good. Call it good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely like the all natural stuff. Don't get me wrong when I talk on this. I'm a technical person, trying to be in this natural type of situation. So I ask a lot of questions. I learn a lot of stuff, different point of views and whatnot. But this is, I mean, I did it. I know it works. The natural stuff. It's incredible.
Feels weird, doesn't it?
I want to do it again, but sometimes, yeah, and it does work. But I want to do it again. But I like to experiment. I like to touch things and learn new things. So I put myself in different scenarios, but I'll probably end up going back to what I had before. Yeah. It was successful. So
If it works for you, why not?
yeah.
The air stones, and it seems to pull slowly the water through them, and underneath there's the sand, so it seems to filter. That becomes a filter in that whole area. So you have a lot of stones, it's a lot of filter. I'm not sure exactly how much I should try to clean that or anything, but I've been noticing it's working in that zone. It's collecting-
I just use a sponge filter. It circulates everything. I don't really have to clean it. My water is always pretty much clear. If it isn't clear, I just do a little bit of water change. But I try not doing water changes at all. That's the goal. But I do it if I need to do something to the tank.
And then how
My
far
sponges I
do you
use as a
tank-
polisher. Sorry, go on.
like how long do your tank need to stay before you can get to like a stable water? You don't have to do the change.
If you're
Mine was probably
if you're doing a dirted layer with a sand cap, once you put water in that, it should be stable immediately from day one. Because you've created an environment that accomplishes everything you've set out to do. Now, you need to add plants to that right away, and you need to put fish in it, a few right away. So you get the cycle developing. What the sand and the water provide is the vehicle for the cycle, but you've got to get the cycle going with plants and fish.
And you'll need water change, correct? At the beginning when you get it going.
So before you put fish in the tank, I've learned this by experience. Before I even got fish, what he talked about, but you have to add food. You have to add that to create that ammonia on the bottom of the tank, and then it creates the bacteria, nitrates and nitrates, and then the other bacteria.
Only if you're not doing a natural tank. If you're doing a natural tank, that's the last thing you want to do because it'll
Yeah, because
Yeah. I agree.
The bacteria quite often is already there. There's really three ways of getting the bacteria. I've heard this whole seed the tank with ghost feeds and things like this. It does work. It takes a really long time to work,
you can also
so I don't like it.
that works.
You can seed a tank. So this is where you get a filter, like a sponge filter, ideally. You squeeze that into the new tank, and you just let that all go into the new tank. Then you put the old filter back. Ideally, some substrate from the old tank would also work, but the catch there is that if you have any disease that's in that tank, you've now introduced it into your new tank. So you want to make sure that the source tank is clean and healthy before you do that. The other way is Father Fisher's method, which basically takes the mud, puts it in, that has some of the bacteria in it, not a huge amount, but some. You put the sand in, which may or may not have some of the bacteria on. Let's say it doesn't for the sake of the argument. And then you take some plants out of other aquariums. Guess what? The plants have those bacteria on them as well. Congratulations, you've seeded your tank. You can add 1 or 2 small fish in. That'll keep the cycle going. If you want to add more over time, you can do that. There's really no way, even when you're putting the ghost feed in, yes, it is what you're actually doing, right? Your tank doesn't just magically generate that bacteria. You're actually putting some of that bacteria in when you're feeding it. And over time, it grows and starts coating the surfaces of the tank. The gravel, if you've got gravel, the sand, the plants, the glass, it all builds up over time as you're doing that ghost feed. That's why I don't like it. It's so many YouTubers say it's this magical thing that happens. It's not. It's you're actually introducing it.
So it's the same thing, just a different way of approaching this.
No, it's
The idea, right?
And it's a lot faster.
not the same.
Yeah, it would be.
You're doing the same thing in terms of you're introducing that bacteria,
Yeah,
but it's much, much, much quicker because you're introducing a much larger dose of that bacteria, and you're not waiting for it to start eating the decomposing food, which is ultimately what ends up taking the time with the other methods.
So when I did it, and it did actually work. It took about 3 days after I did that. But I was I had my plants in there about a month, and they looked like they were starving. And then I introduced, someone told me to do it, and they said, this is why. And then I did it, and I'm like, yeah, it definitely worked. It took off. And so, the cycle.
Another way you can do the same thing is to collect detritus from a pond or a stream
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and put that in the tank. That brings in all of the organic material. It brings in the microfauna, the microalgae. It brings in bacteria. Most importantly, it brings in fungus. Fungus is fundamental to being able to create humus. You can't get that out of the air. You've got to bring it in from somewhere. If you have an old tank that's established, you can bring it in from there. If you're setting up a new tank or wanting to get a rich culture, then you need to bring it in from outside.
And that fungus becomes really useful when you get, as I did in my early days, where you get some fish dying on you while you're not around. That fungus will eat those fish and make them disappear. My fungus has actually gotten to a point where a dead fish, let's say standard guppy size, if it dies on a Friday and I've gone away for the weekend, it's gone by the time I come back on the Sunday. There's no body; it's gone. There's just some bones sitting on the sand, and it might not even have that.
We'll eat the bone. Yeah, it's impressive. Oh.
It's a recipe, right?
But yeah, I've been having success with my natural tank, and I like it. And I went and collected a bunch of rock it was a little wet, but wasn't that wet of an area, and had lots of green on it. I just washed it off
Nice.
a little bit.
Why'd you wash it off?
It was like some just kind of gross looking stain. So I just and I think I used the fish water from the other tank. So I didn't have any chlorine to kill the stuff, but I just didn't want it to look that bad. But yeah, I did post that video, and that's the tank, and it's going well.
Pretty cool.
And yeah, it's everything's growing very well. So
Nice.
I like
Be
this
careful.
one, and I have killed a few fish, but I kind of think the community's killing them. Like I think they're pecking on each other, but I don't really know. But very few deaths. Very few deaths. First 3 weeks I had no deaths. So it was stable water, but I do water changes so once in a while, and I think I need to, but I'm not sure. So,
Is it a community
Generally, you
tank?
want to do a water change when you need to, rather than when you feel like it.
Yeah.
Have a good.
You know you're doing really well with your natural if you don't have to do it for 6 to 8 months at a time.
Right.
Even more. My big tank, the last water change I did was just to get some salt out. That was about 4 months ago. Before that, I hadn't done a water change in about 7 months.
Yeah.
Or
My
for some
shrimp
reason you
tank,
have to
however,
dose.
My shrimp tank, I have not changed the water in that for 12 months.
I've got this 6.0 water in my tanks, and of course, I get evaporation. So I'm topping off about once a month. I'm topping off. I probably will not need to do a water change in there for years because it is so soft. I'm what are we looking at?
It's a.
I don't know, but I want to unplug it all because I'm in terror.
It's a little messy, but it automatically tops my water off. I'm into robots,
Oh, you're
and so yeah, so it just fills it all the time continuously. It's a drip system.
that's
Yeah, and then they got the TDS pH temperature monitor. The probes are
Oh,
just sitting in there.
well,
It's just
separates and drips back in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I have a one of those garden hoses, really like 1/4 inch, coming from a faucet, and it goes into here. And then I have a float, like a toilet float, but it's not,
yeah.
like $2 or $3. And when the float goes down, it triggers it to kick on the water. The water flows in. It puts up the float, kind of like a toilet, and so that really makes fish really enjoyable because you don't have to do that.
I love it. I
But
did that mechanically at my shop. I didn't
oh yeah,
didn't have anybody who could put it together electronically. We talked about it, but now
if you, I can help you. It's fairly cheap if you want to do it.
that's fun. While we're on the subject, what about using light to determine water chemistry, to measure it? Is there a way online for a camera to look at water and break down the spectrum such as to be able to determine the pH, the hardness, the alkalinity, the whatever?
That's
The
what the
TDS
original glowfish were for. If I remember right, isn't that what the original glowfish were made for? Was to test water parameters in like local streams and rivers?
Well, it was to be able to distinguish them from each other. Yeah.
That's a neat concept.
Yeah.
I suppose it's possible.
If only.
It's a matter of being able to break down the lights the light spectrum of the water in order to know what the water conditions are. We thought if we could do this, that we could test water online. That was the idea. We never got very far with it.
Yeah, that would be really cool. A spectrometer or visual version to be able to check all of the things just from lasers or some type of light refraction or how it reflects off of certain particles. That'd be crazy.
Let me show you guys something. I don't know if you're interested in this kind of thing, but what chat should I put it in? I'll send a picture.
If it's nerdy stuff, I'm sure we're gonna like it. So.
You can share it. You've got a share button there.
Which chat do I put it in though? Mimi Central, maybe?
Doesn't matter.
Lou? Fishy Friends?
Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Trading Post, I'll throw it in there.
Those rocks in my tank, though, they're very heavy. That, that might have been the worst workout I've ever done in my life.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was quite a hike to bring it back to my house, and it was in a backpack, and
Wow.
just my core, just carrying it, incredible.
Rocks are heavy. I did that one time on my trike, and all the wheels are flat all the way home.
And do you have them set on sand? You don't have them directly on the glass, do you?
No, there's a lot, like there's that dirt and the sand.
Okay.
They seem like it was good, like it dispersed the weight. It seemed to be fine.
Yeah.
So
No,
I wasn't too
fine.
worried about it. And I'm not the greatest fish keeper, but I'm a good carpenter. So I understand
Nice.
structure and stuff. So I feel like the load was distributed. Oh, finger gone table saw? Oh, not the table saw.
Wow.
Yes, sir. The mark of the carpenter.
Yeah, I'm happy that I don't have it, but it can happen. Yes. Yeah, they got that new table saw for that now. The safe
Yeah,
stop
yeah.
or whatever it is.
I saw
Yeah.
someone else almost do that, and so I do carpentry too, and I do woodworking, and so I'm always worried about my fingers, just because I saw someone. Actually, it was my wife's father-in-law. He passed away, but he went right in. He goes, "Ow!" and he looked, and his glove got cut an inch in. Luckily, he had, his glove not on all the way, and so it caught all the glove and reacted soon enough. Did not
Yeah,
get
you
his
got
finger.
lucky.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, you got real lucky.
He wore
mine
gloves
took
and
my whole
everything.
hand. But
Yeah.
it was because of my own stupidity. I was 16 and in a hurry, so just
Mhm.
don't get in a hurry, and you're good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable is what I try to think.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're
Pay
like,
attention.
you don't
Yeah.
look and you've chopped, right?
Yep. Boom. You blink and it's gone.
Yeah, I try to stay in that, but things happen.
Yeah.
So what were you going to
The-
tell us?
That was just a program that I built myself to, the electronics that you saw above the fish tank.
Oh,
They report to this program.
nice.
Yeah. That, so that way when I'm working, I'll eventually have it if the value changes too much drastically. I can look over to my fish tank and then maybe do something about it before I actually see something happening. Learn from the information that I'm provided, pretty much. On an all natural fish tank, because not everything goes perfect. I've had fish my whole life, and you think you have it perfect, and something happens. You- I mean, even
every tank's an experiment. So you said you like that.
yeah, it is. That's what I mean. I'm a technical person, big time, and I still hold on to the fish hobby. I've done it since I was like 8, and I was introduced to breeding fish, and I've done it ever since. Really exciting. I don't know why I like it, but
Yeah, it's not tech though.
I'm just techie in this field.
I know,
I just enjoy fish.
right?
I can make excuses with the fish hobby to, excite me in other ways also.
Think about.
I am a very different person from the normal. I would have to say a little bit of autism, so just keep that in mind when I speak.
What is normal, man? I don't think any of us know what that is anymore. If there's a person on this planet that can define normality, they're going to be a rich man or woman.
Well, I'm not average. I'm different. I have to pay extra attention when I speak to people on saying stuff that I don't say something wrong. Because I don't understand that social concept very well. But anyways, just keep that in mind. I try to not, hurt anyone's feelings, but it has no intentions. It's just I go down a path of thinking, and I say certain things, and I just don't know. It's because my mind it's technical, and it goes in 10 different directions at the same time.
Yeah,
Like a fast loop, just on constant cycle.
Yeah, and digging into every single category. I got medicine to slow that down, so because that bothers people. Just FYI.
I don't offend easily.
That's why I hide in the country. So that I can't offend people. No.
I tell you what, I'm in a big city now. When I lived in Emmett, Idaho, that was a small town. That was incredible. The people were incredible. You know, everyone's just laid back. When they first get to know you, you know, they're all up front and they see you're different, and they approach you, and you might think it's mean, but then if you just, you know, tough it up and just, you know, be nice no matter what they do, and then suddenly they're your best friends and everyone's supporting you. It was pretty awesome. I had Siberian Huskies, and I bred them because I wanted 2 more, and so I have a dog sledding team pretty much.
Whoa.
And when I was in Minnesota temporarily, because of mother-in-law got dementia, I ran the dogs for an hour a day, and when they're done, they weren't even huffing and puffing. They were going 30 miles an hour, complete hour after work, and wanted to go more. Pretty exciting. Now that I'm in a hotter state,
Go and go.
we got a bigger property now, so they just go and go in a circle. It's about 100 feet long. So
Where are you living now?
Boise, Idaho,
Oh,
in the city. My wife wanted to be in the city. I prefer not to be in the city. People they're nice here. It's just everyone, you know, appears to be agitated, you know, because of the busyness and stuff. So
I don't know how to do this actually.
what are you trying to do?
Anyways.
there you go.
Well, I'm trying to make it just on me because there's other people in the room.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's good.
But
Tell
yeah,
them
it's not going very well. I'm not very good. It's got a
tell
cheesy
them
clip.
to get their feet out of the way. It's fine. It's perfect. Quit messing.
It's real life. You can't buy real life on TV, man.
What's that other guy's name that had left? It looks like he might have left.
Yeah, he did.
What was his name?
The Blake, right?
Blake?
Yeah, he waved. I didn't know he was leaving. I didn't know what the wave was, but yeah, he waved.
Okay, I was wondering. He was completely froze on my screen for like half of it, so I had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
I'm glad my thing's working. It was costing me $30. It was an open box and seems to be good. I guess it will hear my voice from across the room, which maybe isn't needed, but it's good stuff. Yeah, everything's working.
Yeah, mine.
Well. I'm happy to be
Oh, you're
in the
talking
chat.
about Surfy. Surfy.
Surfing?
S-U-R-F-I-E. Yeah, Surfy's a techie. He
Is that someone's name?
I'm not sure what that means.
the guy who was with us.
Okay.
Oh, it wasn't Blake. It was Surfy.
It was Surfy, yeah.
Surfy. I'm bad with
I'm
names
dumb.
too, so I'll try to
Just
remember
don't-
that.
Yeah.
Don't listen to this guy. When I lost my finger, I lost part of my brain. You know, I mean, I just blame it on that.
Nice guy. He saved my butt about a year ago when some people tried to take over the Discord server. And I kicked them out, and they destroyed everything they could in the process.
You got your permission set up now?
Yeah, he put it all together. Yeah, I
Nice.
put it so nobody can mess with it
Good.
That's good.
except by specific request and permission. But I don't pass out very much in the way of control. Certain things.
Do you guys, any of you guys have shrimp? I recently just got shrimp in another 10-gallon. That's a 75-gallon. I got Blue Dreams. I don't know if I can. I don't really have substrate in there, but there's just lots of plants. I got Java moss and those baby tears just kind of growing everywhere. And then I feed them plants or leaves. I got a walnut tree.
So that's
I heard they eat those, and as soon as it started, the leaf started turning browner color, they just engulfed it and pinholing the whole thing.
yeah.
I was worried when I first got the tank set up because I was in a rush. Because I had ordered it and I was busy at work, didn't have time, and then I rushed it, and so I got it 2 days ready. It had water in there already, so at least that was done. But then I planted it and tried to get the water parameters right for shrimp. I lucked out.
Yeah.
Worked out
Are
good.
the Blue Dreams the only one you have? I'm not exactly sure what all I have. I'm gonna be honest and say that I got all of mine from Pet Smart, but I've got reds, yellows, and oranges of the Neocaridina.
Yeah, you want to try to separate them and get them going in different tanks. And the reason is, if you don't do that, you're going to wind up with mud.
Yeah, the color when they breed. Yep.
Try to keep your colors separate.
Or at least sometimes when they breed, they just have different colors, right? Sometimes. I don't know for sure.
It goes down, though. It usually gets worse, not better. Now, the Caridina are different. When you cross Caridina, you can get a lot more variation. But the Neocaridina, not so much.
Yeah, I'm fairly new to it. I'm hoping that they'll have some. If I have enough and I have female and males, I don't know for sure. But if they start producing some eggs, I'll know that one's a female.
Right?
I've only had them 2 weeks.
Right.
They're really pretty though. They're really dark blue. I was impressed.
Yeah.
I actually ordered them online and they put lots of oxygen, shipped them, and they came and they looked amazing. And they're really happy swimming around. Pretty cool.
I thought about getting some, but yeah, I don't know anything about them other than watching a few videos. But I heard they clean up stuff.
They do. That's right.
Mhm.
I don't think anything cleans better than plants itself. Plants really make the water crystal clear.
They do absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep talking about baby tears. My favorite pond in the world is in Venice, Florida. And it only has one, it's about a 10-acre pond, so pretty good size. Has bass in it, bluefin killies, formosa, some other stuff. But it only has one plant growing in it, and that's baby tears. And you get every variation from the ground cover in the mud out of the water, which is like a lawn that's just tight to the earth, to the short stems in the right at the edge of the water. Then when you go out, it'll get 5 feet long. And that's about maximum. The pond goes to about 10 feet.
What did you say? Was 5 feet long? My dogs are howling at the sirens.
The baby tears.
So on the website, I ordered baby tears, and they said they only get an inch, right? And I grew them, and they grew about 4 feet tall. So baby tears that was really baby tears then. That got 4 feet tall.
Probably. They
Yeah.
grow that tall. It's
That's amazing.
it's a matter
Yeah.
of where they are. Now that pond is black mud. So it's intensely rich. I tried using it in some bowls and it blew up. It was much too strong.
It's really easy to grow them. That's why I started with it. I did a lot of research. Very successful plant, and it'll literally cover the whole tank. The fish are swimming in between all the stalks coming up.
Nice. Well, you gotta have nutrition for them. That's really
Yeah.
key.
I think I'm gonna go pick up some sand like you guys recommended. You know, maybe
Yes,
today or tomorrow.
you'll like it. It'll make a big difference. Silver.
I used that full filtration sand. It was real cheap. $8, giant bag.
Where?
Home Depot.
And what's it called?
Careful. If
Full
you're pouring,
filtration.
yeah, there are a couple of different kinds. There's play sand. There's the sand that's used to make mortar, concrete sand.
I can show you the stuff at Lowe's. I've got a bag of it right here.
Yeah, I'll get the same thing. Yeah.
Same one.
They both tend to be very dusty. They have a lot of very fine material
Quikrete?
on them. Quikrete,
Oh, yeah, that's not
next
the one.
product.
Full filter sand. Okay. Thanks.
If you're going to pour it through the water column, you need to rinse it first.
Mhm.
If you're going to set your tank up with a dirt layer, sand on top, before you put water in, you don't need to rinse it. You just want to be careful when you do put the water in that you don't stir it up. So you put a bowl or a towel or something there so as the water's going in, it's not stirring up the sand. What do you have there? What is that a cat? What is
Thanks
that?
for showing me that concrete.
Close.
Like a cat?
Catahoula. Catahoula. A big old dog.
Oh,
Yeah, they were going after something. My parents live about 4 acres south of me, and they were going on and on about something. That's why I had to get up earlier. I was like, "What are they going after?" Because it was that going after something bark. So that's why I had to get up. Sorry about that. Yeah, he just came in here and tried to jump on me.
Yeah, that sand I used, it doesn't seem like sand. It's like crushed stone. Like little like quartz style.
yeah, yeah,
Sable makes it, I think. It's called Sable.
it probably is. That's
and,
what I like saying.
Central Company.
It's crushed coke.
About 6 different kinds of almost gem-like looking things. But yeah, seems to work. My pH is like 7.5 or something, but that's not too accurate. I'm gonna pull out my other tester.
Most any sand will do. You know, Surfy had an experience with sand that I've never run into before, and it caused he had KH carbonates in his sand that caused the pH to rise. Now I've never had a super high pH cause a problem, but he did, and he resolved it by not using that sand.
I've been linking, since I can do the pH continuously like that graph showed, I'm going to eventually be writing down events like adding sand and then marking the timestamp to see if variables change.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah,
and also I'm marking when I notice the fish are most happy. And then, writing down what I had so I can try to repeat what I had before. Because I like changing, right?
That's actually really awesome to hear because there's not enough people that do like a full controlled experiment on everything. So that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, if you guys want any of the stuff I have, I can, help you build it if you're interested in that kind of thing too. But doing this supports, doing the natural stuff because I'm trying to learn by doing the natural stuff. If I do something wrong, what caused it, and it kind of just tells me. what I need to pay attention to. So I have a piece of, like a branch down here. This was the culprit that destroyed my fish, but I have a branch down here. It's as long as a tank, and I recently stuck it in the fire. As you can see, I'm gonna wash it.
I had that happen. I know what happened now. It was green. It had sap in it.
I boiled the sap out.
Not all of it.
Probably not.
And that's what fouled the tank. That's what gave you that fuzzy stuff. And it wound
You
up
think so?
in the tank. Yeah. I had it
Okay.
happen once. Somebody gave me a beautiful piece of root. It was just so convoluted. And it was wonderful. And I just loved it. And I put it in a big tank in a 200
That's what I
gallon.
did.
I don't think
Whoops.
it lost any fish, but it started fouling the water very quickly.
My water stayed clear. It's just it was growing that stuff, and then the next day I woke up and it literally covered everything. It was like walking.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's what it was. It was not dried. It was not thoroughly.
Yeah.
Good. Not thoroughly.
Well,
dried.
I figured.
It's nice.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I put a piece of driftwood from the beach, and it had roots, and it worked. It got fuzz like you're talking about, but it went away in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's what I thought was gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and even the bark started falling off and everything, but it's almost like the fish liked it. But it was like it definitely changed the color of the water. And
Yeah. And if
apparently,
you have shrimp too, they'll help eat all of that. That first little buildup that builds up on that piece of wood, the mold, they'll go crazy for it.
Well, that's that's what microfauna depends on. That's the first food. That's the primary food.
I'm worried about the shrimp getting eaten. So what I'm going to do is breed them in the 10 gallon. It's a tank I just don't touch. I just make sure they have food and don't touch it. Don't move the water or anything. Let them do their thing. When they breed, that's when I'll put them over here. That way I don't lose all my shrimp if they end up getting eaten.
Yeah.
So that's my plan.
The babies will be eaten. Nice. All right, guys.
Yeah, I may have to.
We've been at
Go ahead.
about 2 hours.
Yeah, it was really nice talking with you guys. A lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I finally was able to actually make it on and be able to speak for a change.
yeah, thank you.
Nice.
You,
What's your guys' name?
Tommy.
Tommy?
Mhm.
What's yours?
I'm Corey.
Corey. Tommy, Corey.
Good to meet you, Corey.
And Father Fish?
yes, Father.
Is Father Fish? Okay. So Corey, see, I have a problem with names. I can remember lots of computer stuff, but names I can't.
You can remember Four Fingers, right? I do go by that. Most people in my town, that's my local name is Four Fingers.
So Corey, what's your name? I'll try.
Get that.
What's what?
What's your name again? I got Corey, and then
Tommy.
Tommy.
Mhm.
I've never known a Tommy before. I've met like 30,000 people. I never
Well,
really
now you
asked their
do.
name. I was a salesman back in the day too.
Oh, nice.
And when you met
I'm
so many
sorry.
people, I think that might have trained my brain to forget names because I met so many people a day. I probably met, I built a company, so I
Mhm.
went door to door and met them and got all those names. I never remembered any of them because it was probably like I went to door to door and it was like 50 a day, You know,
Yeah.
going to the next house, next house, next house.
Yeah, it'll do it at some point. All the names run together.
Yeah, yeah. But that kind of later in life, that trained my brain to like not remember the names. Tommy, Corey. I'll try to remember that next time.
I'm not great. But it was good with this talk. So thank you guys. And have a good night.
Absolutely.
You guys.
Nice to meet you guys.
You as well. Thank you guys. And thank you guys in chat.
Right.
All right, see you.
Bye for now.